Hi, I'm Willie. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And what we're going to look at in this video is Ubiquiti's UniFi versus Ubiquiti's UISP line. This has come up quite a few times over the last few video releases. And people are asking, well, why don't they merge them? Why can't we do everything in one platform? Well, you have to remember these platforms serve two distinct different types of customers, but there is some crossover. Now, if you've ever had UniFi gear inside of a site managed by UISP or vice versa, you will see the device name, you will see the device type. That's likely to do because of the Ubiquiti discovery that's happening in the background. But these two product lines, these two sets of equipment, these two software platforms serve two different functions, and that's how Ubiquiti advertises it, right? So if we hop over here and we go to UI.com, the very first thing we get is it talks all about UniFi. And if you've been following along with Ubiquiti and everybody that's doing videos, you'll know that UniFi is headed towards the enterprise, or that is where Ubiquiti wants to see UniFi. And if you're using UISP and EdgeMax and UISP gear and the AirMax gear, that is more on the wireless internet provider, the fiber internet provider side of the house. It's not to say that you can't use it. It's just this is how Ubiquiti is kind of laying this out. So you can't manage Ubiquiti UISP or UFiber or AirMax devices from UniFi. You can see them. You'll be able to tell what they are. Vice versa, right? So I can see UniFi gear in UISP through the discovery, but I can't manage it. So let's look at a little bit more of this so we can see what the distinction is. And I will tell you that before UniFi got to where it's at now, we used a lot of EdgeMax gear, and we still use a lot of EdgeMax gear on larger deployments. But UniFi, when that equipment gets replaced, it may end up going UniFi, may go somewhere else. Depends whether it's got to go out for bid, things like that, right? So if you go to UI.com, UI.com is all about UniFi. But they didn't forget about UISP. If you go to UISP.com, they have a very similar website with look and feel to keep promoting the UISP side of the house. And yes, before anybody asks, I am going to continue my Build Your ISP videos here shortly. If we get into the stores, right? So if I go to UI.com and I go to store, it's going to load this up. Everything you see here is UniFi related, whether it's UniFi Network, UniFi Protect, UniFi Access, UniFi Talk. That is what the main store is. If I'm over on UISP and I go to store, it still takes me there, but it takes me to a section that you would have to know how to navigate to from the first store link. So when we get here, first of all, under the store for UniFi, we have the cloud gateways. The cloud gateways and the UISP and the EdgeMax devices can do some of the same things, but when you're an ISP, your router really is meant to move as many packets as fast as possible. So they don't have unified threat management like they do on the UniFi gateways. So the UniFi gateways, they give you in the UI a lot more options for some of that threat management. And they've really done a good job of making the interface, in my opinion, easy to navigate. A lot of the EdgeMax or UISP stuff, it still has an independent interface where you can configure the devices directly, and it's not necessarily bound to the controller, right? So if you have a UniFi switch or a UniFi gateway and you tinker under the hood, the next time that it provisions or reboots, it's going to lose all those changes. That's not the case with EdgeMax and UISP. So you can see here from the UniFi side, tons of options from cloud gateways to switching, Wi-Fi, camera security, door access, right? This is the UniFi ecosystem, and they've brought everything under that UniFi and then split it out into the different applications or the different use functions. You've got your integrations, you've got your advanced hosting, which is this is our gateways that don't run the controller on them. You adopt these to a third-party controller, whether it's your controller, whether it's a cloud key, whether it's the official UniFi hosting, wherever. And I see now that the UXG Enterprise is now available. And then you've got a ton of accessories. Tons of accessories. Now, if we go over to the UISP store, that's what I'm going to call this. Here you can see we've got 60 gigahertz wireless. So all of the Air Max driven devices live here. The 60 gigahertz, obviously, some of these have 5 gigahertz backup radios. We get to wireless. This is where a lot of your 5 gigahertz, I'm not sure if they still got 2.4. I'm sure they do. But definitely 900 megahertz. If you've got any of that stuff, it is worth its weight in gold right now. Everybody's looking for that. SCADA networks have destroyed the 900 megahertz frequency for use, at least in the US. So if you've got that gear and you're using it, hang on to it. I know people that are looking for 900 megahertz gear, and they'll pay top dollar because Ubiquiti's not putting out new 900 megahertz gear anymore. But you can see all of this is either for you to do some point-to-points or point-to-multipoint, or to provide clients with internet access. Same under the fiber. We can see all of the fiber products here. All of the switches, and there's a blend here, right? So you've got this stuff that's running Edge OS, so your Edge router, your Edge switch. You've got the UISP switch, which is still running a version of that Edge OS, I think, under the hood. And the gear is plentiful and the gear works. And the one thing that like I said before, that I like about the UISP or the EdgeMax stuff is I can go in, I can make advanced configurations that don't depend on the controller. Here's all of the accessories for the UISP line. Now, there's a couple of big differences in the UniFi software for network and the UISP software. So the UISP software has a CRM built in, and it has a billing module that's integrated in that. And so what that allows you to do is run your service provider and set it up so that if people don't pay their bills, that it can turn their internet off, send them to a walled garden. They can pay their bill, then it can turn it back on. You can integrate some third-party hardware into this. I think that there are modules for other manufacturers' routers that work with this. And you can do some UniFi-esque configuration with the hardware in UISP. The real strength of a lot of this gear is that you have a lot more configuration in the UI that sticks without having to necessarily be adopted to a controller. UniFi is meant for UniFi network is meant for managing your network and doing everything through that single pane of glass. Anything we do underneath the hood tinkering doesn't survive a provision. It doesn't survive a reboot. So if you're looking for that kind of stuff, you're going to want to look at the Edge gear. Now, they definitely have a much wider, deeper offering on the UniFi side because it's meant for a different market, right? It's meant for a different market than UISP, where UISP is about connecting businesses and homes and RVs or whatever to get them internet access. But a lot of times we use a lot of the UISP gear to do point-to-points between buildings. We have entire campuses that are built of Edge OS and Air Max devices, and they work beautifully, and we can manage everything from UISP. We just don't use that CRM side that manages payments because we're not collecting payments. So the other thing about UISP is you can through SNMP, you can at least monitor to see if third-party devices are online, and then you can get that same email notification if a device is unreachable or goes offline. So you can't do that with UniFi yet. If you can, I haven't seen it, so correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. So at the end of the day, these, from a marketing side, these two different lines of gear are meant for two different types of customers. It doesn't mean you can't mix and match, but no, you will not be able at this point. Today is June 24th, 2025. You cannot manage UniFi gear and UISP or EdgeMax or AirMax devices or the fiber devices in UniFi because it is two distinct, different product lines. So I hope that kind of clears this up. I wouldn't want to see them merge it. I think it gets really murky if we start to merge these two product lines that are, from a marketing standpoint and the way that they're pushing the products, definitely meant for two different audiences. I like that we have two different controllers, and there are still companies building out their ISPs using the UISP hardware, the EdgeMax hardware, the AirMax hardware. So that is still in full swing. It's not like Ubiquiti forgot about it and it's dying. It's just a different market segment. But I mean, we use edge routers all the time to move large amounts of packets as quickly as possible. Yes, it does have firewalling. It has NAT. You can do some things under the hood that you probably shouldn't. Sometimes we do those things. You can use this wireless gear, and sometimes we think we're fooling physics. At the end of the day, physics win, right? But if you go way back on my channel, you can see where I had a 900 megahertz link that was going through like a quarter mile up to a half mile of trees, like right through the trees. And we were getting between 10 and 25 megabits a second, which is really all I needed. It was one computer at a very remote site. So all of this hardware definitely has what Ubiquiti would consider probably best use case. That doesn't mean that you can't use it and mix it together, but the platforms have to be managed individually. And you don't have to necessarily manage your UISP gear in UISP, but they've done a lot of work to make the interface simple, easy to use. I prefer to use it because I get a snapshot of all of my sites, what's online, what's not, just like you do with UniFi and other network management platforms. You can go to these sites, you can look at the pricing and things like that, make your own decisions. But if you've got any questions about either of these, we are intimately familiar with the hardware from both lines, let me know down in the comments. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, comment, and share. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok. Those links are down below, along with affiliate links, a Patreon link. And if you need IT consulting, head on over to willyhow.com. Whether it's you're building an ISP, we support several ISPs, both on the wired fiber side, and sometimes we actually have customers who are in MDUs, multi-dwelling units, and we're using edge switches and Infinity routers to make that go, whether it's that or whether it's a small office, a home office, your home, what you would consider an enterprise. We can help with a lot of things. If we can't, we'll get you to a vendor who can. That's our promise to you. Head on over to willyhow.com, fill out the contact form that's on the front page, and someone will reach out to you as soon as possible. And if you want to talk about this or anything technology related, head on over to community.willyhow.com and sign up today. Once again, I'm Willie. I want to thank you for being here. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.